This is Coach Lee, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the statement, an X is an X for a reason. Take a quick second, click the subscribe button below so you can be notified when I have more videos like this, and be sure to click the notification option so you can be notified when I have a new video. It's a popular saying, and it's in my comment section quite a bit. A lot of videos will have someone who believes they are extremely wise and are talking down to so many of us say, an X is an X for a reason. And it's often said as though it's the first time it's ever been said, and it's the first time anyone in my community is ever hearing it, which is not true. But the real question is the statement itself true? Should an X be an X for a reason? In other words, should you look at this and say, they will forever be an X because of the fact that they became an X in the first place? I understand the concept. I understand why certain people believe that, and that's certainly their right to believe that if someone ever breaks up with you, you will never ever get back together with them for the reason that they broke up with you. And if that is how you feel, not because somebody told you that and you feel like you're supposed to believe it because everybody believes it or something like that, but because you genuinely feel too disrespected, too hurt, or that there's something lost that can never be reclaimed, then that is how you should live. You should live true to yourself, true to your beliefs. But if you're unsure, or if you're open to looking at this a little bit differently, I have some thoughts on the statement, an X is an X for a reason, and if it's true or not. So the first question you might be wondering is, well, Coach Lee, are you saying that every relationship should be saved? That every couple should stay together and not break up? Absolutely not. People have free will. Some people are just not good for each other. Some people should not be together. And so I am not saying that I believe that every relationship should always be, and that there should never be a breakup, and that you should always try to get your ex back, and that you should never break up with someone. I'm not saying any of that. But when I say that just because someone breaks up with you, just because for a time they are your ex, that does not mean that you should never be in a relationship with them again, that you should never give it another chance, that you should not be open to getting back together with them. What I'm saying is that some relationships after a breakup can be brought back together, that they can be salvaged, that some relationships that appear destined to be destroyed can be saved. That's what I'm saying. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why it could be worth saving a relationship from a breakup, separation, or divorce. Some people say you might as well start fresh if there's trouble that would warrant a breakup, separation, that kind of thing. And what I would say to that is this, that yes, a new relationship does have its excitement. And I encourage you to look at my video on the subject of limerence and what that is and how that relates to new relationships and even being addicted to new relationships. But consider that when you go into a new relationship, most of you watching this have a goal or are at least open to finding a relationship that will be permanent, that will be monogamous, lifelong, could lead to marriage. So this idea that starting fresh, finding someone new is just the best thing if there's going to be trouble in a relationship, if there's going to be a breakup and you might have to work on some things to get back together. So maybe it's just more trouble than it's worth and you should just start fresh. That's what some people will say. And what I say to you is, if the goal is to find that someone, to find that person who is permanent in your life, then whether it's fresh or new or not is irrelevant. And that relationship will in time have its own problems, and they could be even worse. What we're looking for is that lifelong commitment, that oneness, that connection with a person that's not just something that happens right away, though that's great, but it's also something that happens from just being with them for a long time and them knowing you and you knowing them and knowing little things about them and them knowing little things about you and growing together. That there's a lot of value in that. And so rather than just say, this is becoming work or I'm having to put work into this, I should just start fresh. What I'm saying is that just because it's fresh does not make it better. Just because it's a new person does not make it better, unless you are going after only the newness, because that newness will wear off. The relationship that has had the breakup, that had newness at one point. That was a new relationship. There were those early fireworks, that limerence that can come in the early days. And so if that is what you're seeking, if that's your motivation, well, this is difficult, I might as well find something new. Just because it's new does not mean it will not have its own problems. Two imperfect people create imperfect relationships, and there will be issues, there will be problems. If you are looking for that relationship that has no problems and no days of doubt, you will not find it. As I've mentioned in other videos, most married couples, in polls that have been done, will admit that if they were not married, that they probably would have broken up several times, because those ropes of commitment wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be that difficulty that would come with ending the marriage. There wouldn't be the connections like children, shared property, a life together, the social stigma, those kinds of things. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily reasons by themselves to stay, but they're at least reasons to reconsider, to look into this, to give this a chance, to be willing to work on it, and to at least just not wake up one day and decide that's what you want, is to end the marriage. And so for us to sit and look at a dating relationship and say that two people who are good for each other could break up, could lose their way, could have enough doubt that this is the right person that they break up and then learn something, is not unreasonable. It's at least something that you should consider. And if you're wondering if you should try to get back together with someone who's broken up with you, if you should try to get back together with an ex, if that's what you want, and the two of you seemed good together as far as you're concerned, and you feel like there's unfinished business, like there's more potential than what has happened so far, then on the surface, as far as just the fact that they are an ex, that's not a reason that you should not at least consider and look into your options as far as how you might be able to reattract this person or re-enter this person's life. And I certainly don't mean that you do things beneath you, that you treat yourself with a lack of respect by begging or pleading with this person or continuing to contact them when they have wanted to be out of your life. That's not what I'm saying. And if you've seen my other videos, you know that. But what I am saying is if there's a way to reattract them where you keep your dignity, where you're doing the right thing as far as when someone has said you're not welcome in my life anymore, not forcing your way in, then it's something that I would say you should consider. The lure of a perfect relationship, the perfect person, that they're just over the horizon, they're just around the bend, they're just days away, they're just a new first date away, is a fairy tale, because there is no perfect person. Certainly, certain people are better for us. We have connections with certain people, and some of them are far greater, far superior, far more complex and endearing than others. But as far as just finding a perfect person, you will not find him or her. That person does not exist. And so the idea that because this person has flaws, because this relationship had flaws, because there was a breakup, because there was some work that needed to be done, because there was some arguments, because there was some hurt feelings, that does not mean that you should seek this perfection, this soulmate that's supposedly out there, and that this person should just be cast aside. Again, if they broke up with you, mistreated you, you certainly have the right. And sometimes that's the best thing. Not all relationships should reunite. I say a lot of the times in my videos, maybe you should just move on with your life. If certain things are happening, if this person is mean to you continually, if this person shows no empathy for you, if this person seems, especially when you were with them, to only want you to serve them, to worship them, to build up their ego and their sense of attractiveness, and there wasn't that give and take, there wasn't that mutual attraction where they were complimenting you and making you feel wanted and you would make them feel wanted. If that wasn't there, if they moved on too quickly after the breakup to the point that it just kind of seemed like they were looking for someone to fill a spot, or maybe even there was another person before the breakup happened, there's all kinds of reasons that make sense for someone to move on. And only you can decide that for yourself. I'm not here to tell you, unless you ask me, if that's what I think you should do. You make that decision. But just know that the idea that the perfect person is going to be the next one, the next new relationship, the next new first date, that is a mirage, and you should not fall for it. So if perfection is what you're seeking, you will not find it in a relationship with a human being. What's interesting is that this breakup could actually be the best thing that ever happened to the relationship, which surprises people when they hear me say that, because it doesn't make sense when they first hear it. We're not even together. But when you apply strategies that I teach, like the no contact rule, and I will link to some videos in the description below, as well as I will link to my emergency breakup kit where I talk about the no contact rule and strategies you can even use within it, then if and when this person sees that your place in their life is one that they miss, that they realize that the breakup was a mistake, that they see day after day and night after night without you as something that turns into a negative where they originally thought it would be a positive, people can learn. People can learn their own selves better from a breakup. People can actually learn to the point that if it ever gets to that place again where you two have a disagreement or they have some doubt, they begin to feel maybe that they're not as attracted to you as they used to be, and they don't know if it's temporary or not. But if they have learned because they thought they wanted to break up, they see people all over the place breaking up. It's a normal thing. It happens. And so sometimes people just think, well, I guess that's what's supposed to happen because I'm not as attracted to this person as I once was, and I don't guess it will ever come back, or we seem to bicker a lot lately. And it looks like, well, that's what people do in this situation. And it happens. They do it. They don't necessarily wake up and decide to do it. A lot of times it takes weeks or months or even years where they go back and forth and they have conversations with themselves. And then finally they just think they have to, but they can learn from it. And so if it happens again, those negatives come up again. They can remember when this happened before and I thought that I should leave the relationship. I thought I should break up with this person. But I learned that I missed them, that I wanted the relationship, even with its flaws. I realized I wanted to work on it. And I realized that that attraction, when I didn't have that person, that attraction started to come back. And that's human. I wish that it wasn't that way. Ideally, you deserve a person who would never leave, who would never lose attraction for you. And really, if you think about it, if they come back to you after having been without you, in a lot of ways, that's like them not leaving. They keep finding their way back in your life. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, things can actually be better than they were before because that lesson is learned, because this person realizes that they want you in their life and they learn from thinking they didn't. And that means in the future, they're less likely to do it again. Now, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes people just keep breaking up with you. And maybe that's one of those situations where it's not supposed to work out and it's not the best thing for you. One breakup might not be the best thing for you and you decide to move on. Again, I'm not telling you how to do this. I'm just saying that there needs to be some more open-mindedness with some people about this topic, and that I have seen relationships actually be even better than before after a breakup, when they actually get back together and they have both learned something from it, that I've seen relationships be stronger. So it's something to consider if you believe an ex is an ex for a reason. So what I'm suggesting to you is that you be open, that you be willing to consider this, that you just don't dismiss it right off. If that's your belief, an ex is an ex for a reason, then maybe you at least think about some of the things that I've said and reconsider. You don't have to end up agreeing with me, but at least allow yourself to think about it. And if someone tells you an ex is an ex for a reason, tell them some of the things that I mentioned in this video. If your ex has not changed, if you get back in a relationship with them and they do the same thing again, they haven't changed at all some of the negatives, and it just feels like that this is just banging your head on a wall repeatedly, then by all means, maybe you should be the one to break up with them this time and move on. So I'm certainly not saying that you should just settle. If they're not willing to work at all on the relationship, if they're not wanting to make things better and to prevent the breakup from happening again, or at least think that there's no effort required from them to protect this relationship and preserve it and strengthen it, then maybe it's not the best thing for you. You should respect yourself. If this person doesn't, or if you feel that the way that you behave in the relationship is disrespectful to your own self, then at least you should wait until this person learns. And you should not accept them as far as being in the relationship, continuing to show disrespect and continuing to expect you to disrespect yourself. Maybe you take a break Maybe you do try to move on and see what happens. Just, again, be open-minded to things and don't assume that just because there was a breakup means that you two can't ever get back together. But you still should move forward with the expectation that this person will try to prevent a breakup from happening and will change and work and grow with you in this relationship. So an ex doesn't have to be an ex forever. An ex doesn't mean that they can never be a non-ex or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife. You are not crazy for thinking you want to try to get back together with your ex and see if this can actually work out. I see relationships get back together and work out and be wonderful, supportive, warm, loving relationships all the time. It doesn't mean that they all do, but certainly some do. A lot do. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please take a look at the link to my emergency breakup kit in the description below. It's a guide on getting your ex back. It's the culmination of my 2 decades in a relationship recovery service. Subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified when I have more videos like this. This has been Coach Lee, and as always, thank you for watching.